Welcome to one of the biggest crossover events in Power Ranger and Kamen Rider fanfiction history, with almost 30 storylines crossing over. These storylines are written and read to you guys across multiple platforms and given to you by the Three Ranger Bros Studios, which is hosted by Mark the Red Cornish Ranger, Cosplay Dude 637, and myself, Ty Tiger. So prepare to dive into a storyline that not only crosses over all these stories, but hosts a threat that is willing to take down the entire multiverse as we know it. Let us begin. Rangers and Riders Unite. War for the Multiverse. Part 4. Minor Inconveniences. Mark had returned, furious that he'd just lost Universe 20. Jason, the leader of the Ultra Rangers, grabbed him by the sleeve and dragged him out of the control room and dragged him into the training room. He shoved Mark into the room and then he dropped down into his own fighting stance.
Really, Jason? You want to spar right now? Don't we have bigger fish to fry?
Mark barked at him.
Yes, I do. You're angry, which is understandable. You just lost your universe, but you have to keep your anger in check.
Jason snapped back. Jason threw a punch. Mark slapped his fist away, then threw a punch himself. But Jason dodged the attack, grabbed Mark's arm, and pulled him in close and hit him right in the face. He let go of Mark and he staggered backwards, shook his head, and then clenched his jaw in anger. He dropped down into his fighting stance and Jason joined him.
You're right, I'm angry, but I'm going to use it. I'm going to fuel it into my strikes. Make sure those bastards don't take another universe.
Mark growled. He jumped up and swung one kick after the other. Jason, using his hands, blocked each kick. As Mark landed on the ground, Jason spun around and flung his foot out, hitting Mark in the stomach, throwing him off his feet. Mark hit the ground hard. He bounced back onto his feet and he straightened his shirt, then he dropped into his fighting stance once again.
I'm afraid you don't get to do that,
Jason muttered.
Oh yeah? Why not?
Mark sneered.
Because you, me, Dante, we are leaders. Yes, there are other Ranger teams, but for some goddamn reason, we are the ones they look up to. We are burdened with leading these heroes. The people who are willing to fight and die, they need a leader. We are those leaders. We are. No one else. You can't be fighting with anger and rage. That's how we get blindsided, how we mess up. That's how we die.
Jason said. He stood up and he turned around and walked away. Mark dropped to his knees and took a deep breath. Some of the heroes had ventured off to see what had become of the realms, particularly the music, cyber, and blood realms. Everyone was either resting, training, or strategizing. Some of them were getting to know Lily and her new Arctic Fury team of Rangers, and Jason walked in and Cole from Universe 20 approached him. Hey there, Jason, Cole said nervously.
Cole, what can I do for you?
Jason asked. Well, me and my Ultra Ranger team are having some trouble, Cole admitted.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Your team is the Ultra Rangers of Universe 20. It's so strange meeting other Ultra Rangers.
Jason chuckled slightly, scratching the back of his head. That's kind of where the problem lies. We have no connection to the Ultra Grid right now, Cole told him.
What do you mean, no connection?
Jason asked, confused. Just then, Merrick and Taylor approached them. Since we got here, we have not been able to morph, Taylor told Jason. It's like we got drained or something, Merrick stated.
May I interject?
Shinon said, walking over to them.
What you got?
Jason asked her.
I believe it's because the restriction of the Ultra Grid. Each universe can only withstand the power of 10 Ultra Rangers. As there are now officially 18 Ultra Rangers, I believe it's chosen Jason's team as the primary team of Ultra Rangers.
Shinon explained. Great, so now we're just sitting ducks, Max blurted out. Hey, it's okay, man. It's okay if we don't fight, Danny muttered. Yeah, you're okay with that? You just lost your wife and kid. You want to do absolutely nothing? Max snapped at him.
Anger won't get you anywhere, Max. Calm down.
Mark said as he entered the room. Everyone turned to see him in the doorway. Mark looked over to Jason. They both nodded at each other. Then Cole and Eric and Lily approached him. Cole and Lily both hugged Mark and Eric shook his hand. Boy, am I glad you're okay, Lily said to him.
I'm glad some of you guys managed to get out of Universe 20.
Mark sighed. Then, the Jason from a different universe, now Jason from Universe 20, approached Mark.
I'm so sorry you lost your universe.
He muttered. He knew all too well what it was like to lose a world. Then suddenly, before anyone could say anything further, Elias, Xander from Universe 19, and Xander from Universe 113 all dropped to the ground grunting in pain.
What's happening to Elias?
Himiko called out as she dropped to her knees holding onto Elias. Eric and Dante dropped down to Xander from Universe 113, and Mikhail, Izzy and Zach checked on Universe 19 Xander. Billy darted to the computer and typed away at the keyboard. Then he nervously took off his glasses and placed them on the console whilst rubbing his eyes. There's only so much of one person built up energy that one place can take. If we were in like an open field or a massive planet or something, hell, maybe just a mansion, it'd be fine. But the command center's only physical place in this pocket void. There's too much Xander, Billy moaned. Wait, but explain Elias then. He's not a Xander, Lip asked. He must be a Xander, Billy shrugged. All three of the downed rangers grunted in pain. Then Dante noticed that his Xander's arm slowly fading away. Yo, what do we do now? Dante barked. It's happening over here as well, Mikhail grunted as he saw his brother's legs slowly fading away. Everyone started to panic. Then, all of a sudden, a glimmer of light erupted in the middle of the room, and there before everyone floated a morphing master. Its helmet retracted, revealing a young man's face. Hello, everyone, the man said with a kind, gentle smile.
Who's this?
Jason asked. Holy mother of magic. You're Zato, Billy stated. Who? Luca asked. In other universes, there are tales of a Red Ranger who became a Zenith Ranger and then finally became a Morphing Master, Billy explained. What's a Morphing Master? Tony piped up. It's a ranger deity-like figure. There's several of them. They protect the source of the powers, the grid, Jacob explained. Tony shook his head in confusion. Why are you here, Zato? Billy asked. I wish I came here to tell you that the Morphing Masters were here to help you in the fight, but I cannot. There must be a balance and it must be kept, Zato told them. Then why are you here? To make tacos? Amy retorted. We have discussed, and though we cannot physically aid you in the battle, there's a couple of things we can do. We offer you 3 gifts, so to speak, Zato stated. He aimed his staff at Elias and then both the Xanders and zapped them with a bolt of white light, and suddenly they all rose to their feet completely fine with their bodies intact. Then there was a surge of energy that pulsed from his staff. Our first gift is multiple immunity. Now you can have as many Xanders, or as many as one person as you like, Zato stated. Everyone silently sighed of relief as the 3 boys were now okay. Our second gift is your restrictions have been loosened, Zato stated. He aimed his staff high into the air and there was a surge of green, purple and orange energy. Now all those who wield all powers may use their powers with no restrictions on any form of the grid, Zato stated, looking directly at Cole and his team. And thirdly, I grant you allies, lost in their universes, alone in the war, and they did not know that they were needed. But I have called upon them, Zato said. He waved his staff, and in a flash of light, nothing happened. They will appear when needed, Zato said. Then he looked upon Jason, Mark, and Dante. One last thing before I go. A note of direction for you. Universe 35 is your opponent's next target, Zato told them. Then he vanished in a veil of light.
You heard the Morphing Master. We now have a few boundaries loosened on our behalf. Set up a team and head for Universe 35. It seems like they are in need of our help,
Zordon commanded. Everyone prepared for the fight ahead. As they were discussing plans, the 3 teams that went off to the other realms had returned, only they returned empty-handed, and with fewer members. The team that headed to the Cyber Realm had lost Fred in battle, those who went to the Blood Realm had lost Skylar, and the one person to return from the Music Realm was Eli, who now was the only member of the Power Rangers Masters of Music. Everyone mourned the ones they lost, but they had only one task at hand. Tony swallowed hard, knowing that he had just lost his partner, and the Cyberforce Rangers mourned their fallen teammate, but the leader, Mikhail, gave them a pep talk, and Eli sat in the corner with tears strolling down his eyes.
It's time for Dad Joke of the Week. Why is it bad to iron a 4-leaf clover? Because you should never...
Jared, you lay there bleeding on your floor, because I was hired to assassinate you. You broke the universal law of telling too many dad jokes. The person who hired me has requested, and paid extra, for me to read you this message. Dear Jared, I, Billy, of the Zero to Hero podcast, hired this man to kill you because you look like a frog that had relations with the end of a moldy-crusted loaf of bread. And you told too many dad jokes. Ha ha. Signed, Billy. I must leave now. Mission log. I have taken down the host of If You Give a Dad a Podcast. My next target is the man who was deemed one with too many technical difficulties.
It was just a joke.
Oh, Jared, I've come with your Big Mac. Oh dear. Oh, poor Blighty. He's been murdered. It's all right, lovely. I'll eat the Big Mac for you.
Universe 35. Earth had been taken over by the Armada over 50 years ago. The rebellion was strong but small, inspired by 2 Power Rangers that were left. They stood strong enough to make an impact. They were led by a small team of individuals who at one point in time had one of the legendary Ranger keys in hand. After aiding the 2 Rangers, they were gifted with a damp connection to the morphing grid. Not enough to be Rangers, but enough to have an advantage on their enemies. The team was made of 4 individuals. One was Lacey, a teen who wielded Saba, the animated sword once wielded by the White Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. Another was Zeke, a master martial artist who had honed the ability to summon the almighty animal spirits used by the legendary Power Rangers Jungle Fury team. The third was Dust, who drove the normal-sized version of the Mountain Blaster Zord that once belonged to the Blue Turbo Ranger. And lastly, there was Tank, who had the Red Dino Gem, which once belonged to the Red Dino Thunder Ranger. The 4 of them led a small team of refugees to their new camp, when suddenly they were attacked by Fadenizers. "Everyone run!" Lacey called out as she pulled out Saba and started slashing one of the faded rangers. The Fadenizers started grabbing the refugees and started draining their life force. Their energy was ripped out of them, leaving nothing but skeletons. Zeke fought off 3 of them, blocking and striking them back when he slammed his foot down and summoned the spirit of the jaguar, and he slashed its claws at the Fadenizers. Dust drove around in Mountain Blaster, running the Fadenizers over, and Tank triggered his Dino Gem and bolted around the battlefield, attacking them. Not far from the refugees, one of the Armada cities had come overrun with the Fadenizers. Civilians and Armada troops alike were all drained of their life force energy. Suddenly, a giant train track appeared, and a train mecha rolled onto it, and it came to a halt. It was an orange train mecha, comprised of 2 construction trains. The first train was a maintenance train, made of an engine based on a railroad shovel, and a railroad crane, and a caboose. The second train was an unorthodox train, and it had a middle section that connected 2 tank threads, both ending in a dozer-like plough. The second train carried the first train, forming a double-decker train. The train whistled a high-pitched whistle, and everyone around it started having their life force energy drained from them. Dust was turned into a skeleton, and Zeke was also turned into a skeleton. Tank and Lacey dropped to their knees as their life force was being drained from them when suddenly the train was hit by a Megazord, disrupting its energy draining. Lacey and Tank and the few of the survivors took a deep breath in as they were no longer being drained, and Lacey and Tank stood up and turned to see a group of rangers stood there. "You guys aren't from around here, huh?" Lacey chuckled. "No, hence why they needed me as their tour guide," the White Ranger of Ra replied. "Lip!" Lacey and Tank cheered. "Hey guys, what's up?" the Ranger of Ra nodded. Lacey and Tank hugged the White Ranger as they knew him because he is from Universe 35. Then the Green Cyberforce Ranger butted in. "Hey guys, don't we have bigger fish to fry right now?" she snapped. "Yeah, sorry, good point. Get these people out of here now," the Ranger of Ra ordered. Lacey and Tank both nodded and started rounding up the survivors. The Rangers all grouped up. The team consisted of the white, gold, and yellow Ultra Rangers, the red Cornish Ranger, the White Ranger of Ra from the Global team, the black Mighty Morphin Power Ranger and blue Time Force Ranger from the Future Foundation team, the green Cyber Force Ranger, Kamen Rider Wizard, Kamen Rider Beast, and they were accompanied by the Ultra Zord, the Ultra Rangers Megazord, which was piloted by the red, black, and pink Ultra Rangers. The Fadenizers ran in on the attack. The White Ranger summoned his Ultra Saber and led the others into battle. He slashed one of the Fadenizers as the Gold Ranger jumped over the Fadenizer and jabbed it several times before kicking it down. The Yellow Ultra Ranger summoned her daggers and started slashing the Fadenizers as well. "Guys, we're useless unless you take out that train," the White Ultra Ranger barked.
Working on it.
The red Ultra Ranger snapped back over the communicator. The Ultra Zord swung its blade at the train mecha, knocking it sideways. The train picked up speed as it moved along the track, which disappeared as it moved. The new track formed in front of it as behind it vanished. The train mecha took to the sky, gliding across the tracks. The Ultra Zord took flight, and the train did a U-turn, and its crane lashed out its hook, which managed to snag the Ultra Zord's shoulder. Then it rammed into the Ultra Zord, causing it to crash into the forest. The train returned to the sky. The Ultra Zord stood and flew up, and the train came in as fast as it could. It shot its crane line once again, but this time the Ultra Zord grabbed the hook and pulled. Then it stamped on the lower train and pulled off the top one. Then with its sword it sliced the bottom one in half. Then it pulled the top train closer to it. Then it rammed its sword into it. The piece of the mecha rained on the ground. The red Cornish Ranger shot one of the Fadenizers down with his power bow. The arrow hit it in the chest. As it hit the floor, it exploded into ash. The blue Time Force Ranger spun his double-ended Chrono Saber and slashed several of the Fadenizers at once. The Fadenizers all exploded to ash as well. Kamen Rider Wizard shifted into his wind form. He jumped up and threw a kick, and a twist erupted from it and hit two Fadenizers, throwing them into the trees. The yellow Ultra Ranger slashed down two more of them, then rolled and stabbed a third one, and they all exploded into ash. The white Ultra Ranger aimed Saber and fired its laser beams from its eyes, and it hit a Fadenizer directly, and it was thrown off its feet. As it hit the ground, it exploded into ash. Between both Kamen Riders and the small group of Rangers, they managed to wipe out the group of Fadenizers. "We have to focus on the mechas from here on out. That's their source point. Wipe that out, the Fadenizers are basically just putties," the White Ultra Ranger muttered. "Agreed," the blue Time Force Ranger nodded. The group grouped up, and they all high-fived, a sense of cheer between them. Their morale were high. They managed to save a world, finally. "Guys, another mecha is incoming. It just wiped out a planet called Animerania, I think. It's on its way," Billy shouted through the communicators.
"Billy, there's one or two Rangers on this Earth. See if you can contact them,"
the red Cornish Ranger ordered. "On it," Billy replied. Then the mecha came into Earth's atmosphere. It was another gigantic train mecha, this one looking like a blue bullet train. It was named Blue Reshra. It came down fast. It fired several blasts of energy. Each blast hit the ground, and it summoned more Fadenizers from the debris. "Ultra Zord, take out that mecha so we can handle out these Fadenizers," the gold Ultra Ranger barked. The Ultra Zord jumped up and started waging war on the blue train mecha. The group on the ground stood before the new group of Fadenizers, and some looked like the black Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, some looked like the green Zeo, and some looked like the green Turbo. There were some who looked like the green Wild Force Ranger, and some who looked like the black Jungle Fury Ranger, all faded, all grey, with no life to them. One of them advanced, and this one held out its arm, and a weapon formed around it. It was the Wild Force Ranger's Jungle Blaster, but each component was black and grey. It wielded the blaster single-handedly. It aimed the blaster and fired a black and grey energy blast. It flew towards the yellow Ultra Ranger, but the Gold Ranger jumped in the way, crossing his arms in front of him. The energy blast hit him dead on. The Gold Ultra Ranger was pushed back due to the impact. He stood tall, unharmed. He looked around confused, when suddenly he demorphed. Adam looked at his hands, and his body was disintegrating. The flakes of his form evaporated into pure wisps of energy, which was being absorbed into the blaster-wielding Fadenizer. Adam looked over at the Black Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. "Give him hell, man," Adam muttered. Then his entire body exploded into pure life force energy, and his skeleton dropped to the floor. "No! No!" the Black Ranger screamed. He dropped to his knees as he stared at his mentor's skeleton. The Fadenizers then ran at the group. The Ultrazord managed to pull the Blue Resha mecha apart, weakening the Fadenizers. The Red Cornish Ranger grabbed the Black Mighty Morphin Power Ranger and pulled him to his feet.
Hey, I get it. But right now, we need your head in the game. We need your head in the game. Okay? Let's get this done.
The Red Cornish Ranger barked at him. He summoned his power axe and handed it to the Black Ranger. He took it and summoned his own. He wielded both power axes and ran at the Fadenizers, not saying a word. He just started swinging. The Green Cyberforce Ranger jumped up and stood on a thick tree branch. She summoned her cyber crossbow and started firing crossbow bolts at the Fadenizers. The White Ranger of Ra swooped down and slashed the Fadenizers in half with his wings. Then he picked up one of them and threw it into the air. As he swooped down, he kicked the Fadenizer. It flew across the battlefield and hit a tree, exploding into ash. He then double-kicked another one. Then he flew higher up into the sky. A Fadenizer jumped up and caught his wing with its rainbow-lit quasar saber. The White Ranger of Ra flapped his wings as he came crashing into the ground. The leading Fadenizer with the faded Jungle Blaster aimed the blaster and fired it at the defenseless Ranger of Ra. He was hit directly in the chest. He laid in the dirt as he demorphed, and his life force energy was ripped away from him. Lip was rendered to a skeleton. The Rangers and Riders carried on fighting as best they could. The Green Cyberforce Ranger decided to get cocky and jump off the branch she was on. She launched towards the leading Fadenizer. They both aimed their weapons at one another. They both fired. Both attacks crossed one another. The crossbow bolt hit the Fadenizer in the visor. It dropped to its knees and his body wriggled, and it let out an almighty screech. Then it exploded into ash. At the same time, the faded blast hit the Green Cyberforce Ranger in midair. Ruthie hit the ground hard and cried out as her life force was ripped from her. "Ruthie, no!" The yellow and white Ultra Rangers barked in unison. More Fadenizers appeared, some with the jungle blasters equipped as before. The Rangers all grouped up. Lacey and Tank then reappeared, signifying their success in escorting the refugees to a safe location. The blaster-armed Phasenizers all started opening fire. Multiple blasts flew at them. Kamen Rider Beast jumped in front, placing a ring over her belt. Then she held out both her hands, and a lion glyph appeared, as big as a wall, acting like a shield, deflecting the attacks. "Everyone get out of here, now!" Kamen Rider Beast barked. Kamen Rider Wizard ran up to her. She let go of the shield, turned around, and swung for Wizard, smacking him hard, sending him flying back. The White Ultra Ranger and the Red Cornish Ranger caught him. "Get him out of here. He's more important than he knows," Kamen Rider Beast snapped. She then formed her line glyph barrier once again, and the blast hitting the barrier made her slide across the floor ever so slightly. "Everyone retreat," the White Ultra Ranger ordered. Everyone started running back. Then suddenly a portal opened. "You guys want to come through here?" Albert said as he poked his head out of it. Everyone darted through the portal, and the Ultrazord retreated into space and teleported away. Kamen Rider Beast held the barrier as long as she could. The barrier started to crack. The Kamen Rider armor vanished, and Stephanie stood there holding the barrier as best she could. Her nose started to bleed. She dropped to one knee. Her arms started to shake. Each hit of the barrier that it took, she felt it in her body. Her ring dimmed, and finally the barrier broke. She fell back. Her breath was deep and sharp. One of the Fadenizers stood over her, aiming the jungle blaster at her. "Screw you," Stephanie growled. For the new universe, the Fadenizer grunted. Then it fired the blaster. The army of Fadenizers carried on sweeping the forest for survivors, leaving Stephanie's skeleton in the dirt. Everyone appeared in an ancient ground that the magnificent Megaforce Rangers used as a base. Everyone demorphed. Tommy hit his communicator. Hey, did you guys make it back to the command center okay? Tommy asked.
Yes, we did. We are back at the command center. Where did you guys end up?
Jason replied. We're with the two Rangers, Mark and Luca now. Seems to be allies. We're at their base, Tommy explained.
Well, stay there. Rest up. We're going to send another Megazord soon. We can't lose another universe.
Jason ordered. Gotcha. Jason... We lost Stephanie, Tommy said sadly. Jason did not respond. The communication was cut short. Tommy sighed long and hard. Then he called for everyone's attention and told them what the plan was.
What you have just listened to is a product created by the Three Ranger Bros Studio.
Hosted by three cosplaying fathers who
happen to be massive geeks of all sorts of fandoms.
They are Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger,
Cosplay Dude 637,
and Ty Tiger.
The studio covers different types of YouTube videos, TikToks, podcasts, and live streams.
If you wish to find out who cosplays who, the YouTube channels, the TikTok accounts, and the podcasts, and all of the other social media platforms,
please go to the 3rangerBroStudios.com.